Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to the Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant podcast, where we explore the extraordinary world of organ transplantation. Each week, we share inspiring stories and introduce you to remarkable individuals sharing their own transplant stories. Be sure to support the podcast by leaving a 5-star review and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform. Have a transplant story yourself that you'd like to share? Well, just send us an email, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. You can also make comments about the show. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to connect with us on Facebook, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. This is BJ Odom. Yeah, I'm the guy with more parts than a chicken nugget. My new book packed with laughs, heart, and the unbelievable true story, survival, that you've heard me talk about right here on the Gift of Life. Get your copy today, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget. Available on Amazon, as we welcome you to episode 90. This week we meet Kim Jacques, a heart and double lung transplant survivor whose journey began at just 5 years old when something wasn't right. By 16, she learned a transplant would one day be her only option. Now, 30 years after that life-saving gift, Kim faces the possibility of another transplant. Her story is honest, powerful, and full of hope, and I'm honored to share it with you right here on the podcast. We shall meet Kim Jacques coming in next. Kim, it's awesome to have you on the podcast, and let's just start out by telling us a little bit about yourself, Kim.
Okay, I received a heart double lung transplant in June of 1996 when I was 16 years old. You can imagine what my teenage years were like.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine for sure.
And for the past almost 30 years, I've been active within the transplant community. I've attended the transplant game since 2002. I've been known to give advice and insight to those who are both waiting and recently recovering. I try not to scare people, but I also don't sugarcoat it. I don't pretend that it's, rainbows and lollipops and smiley faces, because as we both know, it's not.
Yeah, there are many ups and downs, especially with you being 30 years out. Congratulations on that. And that's amazing, young lady. Now, I told you this off the air, but when they first told me that I was maybe going to need a heart transplant, and because of some pressures or something way above my pay grade, they said, you will probably need a heart and lungs also. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. And at that time, Tampa General wasn't doing that, so I was going to have to go out out west. Mm-hmm. Now, where did you have your transplant?
St. Louis Children's Hospital in Missouri.
Okay. And now, were you living in that area, or because I know
we had to relocate.
Okay. And
we had to relocate. Yeah.
And I would say the whole family was relocating, right? Or
so a little over 30 years ago, in December of 94, that's when we first went to St. Louis for my evaluation. I had a few days of tests, and the whole family went. My parents, 2 younger sisters, and I, we all went right before Christmas. And the original plan was to repair my heart and just give me lungs. On the second to last day, they gave me I had my second ever cardiac catheterization. My first one was more than a decade prior, in the summer of 82. And both times, that's when it was discovered that I just had too many holes in my heart. I had 2 very large ones and a bunch of tiny ones. And because of that, the physicians in St. Louis said, too many holes. We're not even going to try to repair them. She cannot get one without the other.
Okay. So now, how old were you when you got your heart and lung transplant?
I was 16.
So 16 years old, I can only imagine now, how was the news presented to you? Because now I was sickly as a child, but they didn't tell me I was as bad as I was growing up. But with you, when did you first learn that, well, you knew you were going to St. Louis?
Oh, that's a Pandora box. Because, I was born up in New England, in the Boston area. We moved to Florida when I was almost 5. Now, my parents were told when I was 2, after I had that first cardiac catheterization I had mentioned, the doctors in Boston tiptoed and said, if I live long enough, I might be able to receive this operation that's in its infancy stages. This operation we now know is heart-lung transplant. That's what my parents were told, and I phrased it that way because I didn't know.
Yeah, because that would be a pretty scary thing for, a child that age to hear that kind of news.
Yeah, I was 2 when I had that. So we moved to Florida. I was almost 5, and I ended up being a fairly normal-ish kid from that era anyway, just being an 80s kid. I went to school. I was very active in the Girl Scouts. I got into mischief like any other kid. I got up early Saturday morning for cartoons, all that jazz. Fast forward to June of 94. I'm 14 years old. It is the first day of summer vacation. I'm seeing my cardiologist for my annual checkup. In fact, I started seeing him when I was 5, and it wasn't until I was 10 that I realized not every kid got to see a special heart doctor every year, because that's how normal of an upbringing my parents tried to give me. So I'm 14 years old. My usual cardiologist is not in that day, but his assistant is his associate. And with the introduction barely out of his mouth, he says to my dad and me, I've just gone over the results of Kimberly's echocardiogram. Let's talk transplant centers. And in my mind, I screamed, what? I had no idea.
Oh, wow. So really, that probably should have been a conversation between your dad and the cardiologist.
My parents and I.
Yeah.
Or my parents and me. Yeah.
Wow. So
that's how that's how I found out. And that's June 94. 6 months later, we're going to St. Louis for my evaluation. And St. Louis had never had a patient with my illness, Eisenmenger's. They never had anybody with that ailment before, so I became their guinea pig. So I became their guinea pig. They had me come up every 6 months.
Okay.
So December 94 evaluation. June, because they wanted to see how it declined with their own eyes. So December 94 evaluation. June 95, come back in 6 months. December 95, we need to speed things up a bit. Because I was going down. So we moved to St. Louis in April of 96. And almost exactly 2 months later is when I got the call.
Okay. Now, as a 13, 14, now I'll tell you this. I had an experimental surgery when I was 13. Mm-hmm. And when I went to the hospital, I knew that I was getting a major surgery. But, my parents were told I'd never even live to see my mid-teens. And by the way, I'm 70 now. So that shows how that worked out. But like I said, in 1968, I had an experimental surgery, which all the other little boys and girls of my age had already died by, the time. So I was the oldest living to get this surgery.
Right.
And to me, I wasn't that afraid, and I don't know why I wasn't, but how about you as a little 13 or 14-year-old girl? How afraid were you at the time you were told you're getting a heart and lung transplant?
I was shocked. I was angry. I was hurt. For a couple of reasons. One, the fact that I was finding out from essentially a stranger, someone I just met, a doctor that I had never met before. And also the fact that I didn't know from my parents. I found out from, like I said, this stranger. And just because of the way I found out, it sped up the decline in my health.
Okay.
Because it shifted the way that I saw myself.
And probably your thinking process too, because I will tell you, I think a lot in recovery and illness, attitude has a lot to do with it. So if your attitude was crushed, that had
it definitely, and it also just, and just like going back to school that fall, it made it hard for me to relate to my peers because I couldn't relate to my classmates at all. That part was hard, and I mean that time in my life was actually kind of, this is going to sound dramatic, but it's dark. Like I don't remember a lot of it, and I don't know if I want to.
Mm-hmm. And
just because it was,
and maybe it's good that you don't.
Yeah. But when we moved to St. Louis in the spring of '96, by some divine timing, there were a lot of kids, especially girls around my age from all over, that are waiting for or recovering from their lung transplants. And since we were plucked from all over, we came from Florida. Another family came from Rhode Island. This family came from Mississippi. Another one came from Indiana. The doctors heavily encouraged us teenagers and our, parents, caretakers, to form their own support groups so that they could have someone to talk to vent, to, get our feelings out. Mm-hmm. Since we didn't have our core groups readily available, we teenagers would just talk and hang out with each other. Our parents would talk and express their feelings and doubts and all that jazz with each other.
Now, how did that work out for you being, a young lady at 13, 14 years old? How did those support groups help you, or did it give you more fear?
That helped a lot. Just, there was already someone who had already had a transplant, and she looked great. There were others who were waiting too. And also another, in my opinion, big advantage for me at the time was the fact that I didn't have the internet back then. So going into surgery, I didn't have any data, statistics, numbers, percentage, or any of that crap going on in my head. I had a total blank slate. The only expectations I had were my own, mm-hmm. which were apparently kind of high. But when after my 3 months and I went back to Tampa, that was hard. And that's the time that I wish I did have social media to have someone to talk to about what I was going through, just because not just the physical side effects of the meds, but also the emotional ones, because you have the emotional side effects of the medication, plus just being a teenager on top of that, you're going to be all discombobulated.
Oh, yeah, because probably back then, the number one medicine for transplant patients was probably, and I could be wrong, prednisone? So were you on a high dose of prednisone?
I'm still on prednisone. I'm on 5 milligrams now. But yeah, prednisone, cyclosporin, I was on it back then. Imuran, I was on back then. Yeah.
I
I mean, those meds can throw you for a loop.
I can only imagine being a teenager on prednisone. It was bad enough being a 50-year-old man on prednisone. I can only imagine what it was like as a teenager.
Oh, yeah. You know, and again, like even post-transplant, I could not relate to my classmates because I felt both older and younger than them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Older because of what I've been through, and younger because they were so like into like school dances and the football game and all of that. But at the same time, I was very envious because they had the luxury to be so carefree.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that.
And I can only imagine 30 years ago, everything was so much different. So how did you feel? And now were you getting your follow-ups in St. Louis, or were they doing any transplants at Tampa General or at Tampa Hospital at the time?
Okay, so with St. Louis, in December of 2001, at this point, I've been a patient of theirs for 7 years. And I was 5.5 years post-transplant, which is already past the average life expectancy. And since I was doing so well, they said, you don't have to transfer to the adult hospital Barnes, now known as Barnes Jewish. You can go to Tampa General for your transplant stuff, and that's where I've been going ever since. Admittedly, for the past few years, I've been having some health issues, and we are in talks of possible retransplantation. We're not quite sure which direction we're going to go. I may still stick with Tampa General, especially since they have a new surgeon that's just coming from Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. I may have to go back to St. Louis. I don't know.
Yeah, because I know
it depends on who's be willing to take me. Yeah.
Yeah, because they just started doing lung transplants not that long ago, if I remember correctly.
Right. So we'll see what happens. This past August, unfortunately, late July, early most of August, I was admitted at Tampa General for 3 weeks due to fluid in my lung, and I had to have that drained and receive treatment and all that jazz. That was my longest hospitalization as an adult.
Okay. So now, are the lungs and heart both having problems, or just one, or where do you stand right now today?
It's the lungs, mostly the left lung. What I'm hearing so far is either do double lung and kidney, since my kidneys are, of course, acting up, as you can imagine.
Oh, I ended up having to get a kidney transplant in 2000. So I had my heart in 2003, and in 2015, I myself had to get a kidney transplant also because of the meds.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yep. So either double lung kidney or a complete heart and lung again. We don't know for sure.
Okay.
Still too soon to tell. I go back to TGH next summer for a checkup. Of course, I have to let them know if anything starts being weird again or what.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back to your childhood again. So right after your heart and double lung transplant, how did you feel? Because you said, you went back to school, but you weren't really ready because you felt I don't know why, you didn't feel right going back to school.
Yeah, I had the physical side effects from prednisone. So of course I had the chipmunk cheeks. I had the access hair growth from cephalosporin. I had the sudden weight gain from prednisone. So, my body felt out of sorts, as you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but I was going to a high school where I didn't know anybody. And of course, just being a teenager, you feel like you have this spotlight on you that makes you stand out, that makes you feel even more self-conscious. So just putting all those together, and on top of that, I didn't quite have the vocabulary to explain what I was going through because I was still going through it myself. I didn't have the words to express everything. So, yeah, but I would not have been able to explain it to my family because I didn't know how to explain it to myself.
Okay.
Just because you're going through it at that time.
Now, when did you start feeling, as things went on, did you start feeling more accepted? And did you feel
I
more
started
part of the
feeling
group?
better. After that school year, I went to another high school. That one was better. It wasn't great, but it was better than before, for whatever reason. And my main focus was just to graduate and just to get out of high school. Some people enjoy their high school experience. I did not. What's funny is that when my 10-year reunion was coming up during the 2000s and everything, I did enjoy planning, coming up with ideas and that sort of thing. And that actually gave me insight into the person I, could have been during those high school years, like what it might have been like for me back then. So that was enjoyable, the planning, that sort of thing. And I think I would have enjoyed, like, if I could do high school being the person that I am now, I think I might enjoy it. No, correct. I know I would enjoy it better than I did back then.
Okay.
Just due to experience, that sort of thing. And I think that the transplant games has definitely helped. It just helped me learn how to socialize with people again, how to heal, and just learn how to talk to people from various, various levels of life and that sort of thing.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense too. And so, so that had to have been a very rough time. And teenager years are bad enough the way they are. Add prednisone and all the drugs that we take for transplants. And I can see where your world was completely topsy-turvy for sure.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling today? Or is it, one morning you wake up, you're feeling pretty decent, and another morning you're not feeling as well? But how are you right now today?
So far I'm doing okay today. Like you said, some days are good, some days are not good. I had to medically retire. September, October, around that time. Before that, I was working for the state. In fact, I worked for the state for over 20 years, which is kind of remarkable since it's not very common.
Mm-hmm.
For someone in this situation to be working. But I stuck it out for over 20 years working for the state, complaining about bills and everything like everyone else. And I really enjoyed that. Like, I enjoyed being able to complain about bills. I enjoyed complaining about, X, Y, Z or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That made me feel, quote unquote normal, compared to everybody else.
So you haven't been they haven't went through the testing yet for you to get anything. You just know that it
No.
sounds like down the road, this is what you're going to maybe need is another transplant.
Right. We're still in very, very early talks. No idea what's going to happen, of course, but we'll see what happens. I'm just taking it day by day. I am doing a type of physical therapy twice a week, just to try to get myself in shape, but also get my body prepared for whatever is in the future.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, you've led an interesting life, and especially, starting this so young and having your heart and lungs for 30 years. It is truly amazing.
Yep.
So kudos to you for that.
Thank you. I know you had my friend, Jennifer Lentini, on your podcast recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've known her for like more than 10 years.
Now, where did you meet? Because I don't think she's not from Florida. So where?
No, she's from the Transplant Games.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've yet to go to those, but I don't know what I'd compete in if I did go. Being,
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of things. We have a lot. We have. Let me see. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how athletically inclined are you?
Some days I would say 2 or 3, and then other days I'd say maybe a 6 or 7.
Okay, so we have cornhole toss.
Now that I could do.
Yes. Okay. We also, let me go through our schedule real quick. We also have track and field events. We have a softball throw and track and field. Where the heck? There's not where I'm going.
Now, with my story, I will tell you this, because I told you I was sickly as a kid and had the experimental surgery in 1968. So as a kid, I was living my normal life, which to me, I guess, was okay, but, I mostly played Easy Bake Oven and Barbie dolls with the girls while the boys were out roughhousing, playing, all the sports games outside. So I'm one of those guys that I don't think at 70 years old, I still can't run. And I don't think I've ever been able to run. And after my surgery, I had a lot more strength. So I did try to run, but boy, do I look weird when I run. Let me tell you.
We all do. I mean, they also have bowling as an event. They have bowling. They have darts.
Okay. Some of these I could. Some of these I could definitely do.
They have Texas Hold'em poker.
Okay. Well,
trivia challenge.
Yeah. So I would like to, because I'm going to ask you this question too. I'll bet this is a good opportunity for you to mix and mingle with other transplant patients, which I would say pretty much helps with everything, right? Kind of like a support group. Yeah, it's like a support group almost.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can meet people from literally all over the world. Like we've had recipients come in from, we've had recipients come from Brazil, Australia, I think Uganda is another country. Just literally all over the place.
Well, I know just for myself, doing this podcast for over 2 years now, I have met so many people and have learned about so many people, so many journeys that people have had, that this has really, kind of helped me along the way also.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think it'd probably be the same, going to the games. And I've heard, from people that have been to the games and, have a lot of fun and really enjoy them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, It shows that transplantation works. It's also helpful for the donor families because they get actual, like, visual proof of what transplantation has allowed, their loved one organs to do.
All right. Well, before we let you go here, any last words or anything that maybe we missed that you'd like to bring up today on the podcast?
I can't think of anything right now. Do you have any other questions for me?
Well, I don't know. I am proud of you for sure because, you're a heck of a trooper there and you've been through quite a bit. And, congratulations on 30 years. With my heart alone, hopefully I'll be able to smile and celebrate number 23. Yeah, it's going to be 23 years for me coming up in March for the heart. So congratulations. Awesome. And I can't believe, too, 11 years on the kidney almost. So congratulations on your 30 years, young lady.
Thank you.
And I hope I hope that they work things out and lots of success for you and more good things to come.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And then since you live in the Tampa area, right?
Right.
Maybe someday we'll, be at Tampa General together and we can meet up and say hey to each other. But I wish you the very best of luck.
That tells me that you'd be part of Team Florida for the transplant games.
Yeah. When is that? That's coming up, in Denver the next transplant games?
Yeah, Denver.
And when is that?
June 18th through the 23rd.
All right. I might have to think about it. At least, even if I don't participate, I think it'd be worthwhile to just go and hang out and learn stories from other transplant patients.
Oh, definitely. And also, just a quick FYI, early registration ends on the 26th.
Okay.
After that, the price goes up a little bit, but since it sounds like if you don't compete, it's not as costly, but just letting you know.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate that. And like I said, I wish you the very best of luck, and I thank you so much for sharing your story today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing your story with us today. And be sure to join us again next week for a new heartfelt episode. And if you have a transplant story, please email us giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, and also don't forget to like and share this episode with family and friends. And we would appreciate your 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Remember, my memoir, More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget, isn't just a medical story. It's a survival story filled with humor, hope, and heart. It'll make you laugh, maybe cry, and definitely believe in second chances. Get it now on Amazon. More Parts Than a Chicken Nugget. Another podcast you might enjoy is myself and my former radio partner, Bill Stevens. BJ and Bill, the podcast, all on the Podcast Playground Network. We want to thank them for making this podcast possible. Until next time, I'm BJ Odom. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey and reminding us all to appreciate each and every day and to treasure the extraordinary gift of life.
He was running on empty, heart fading fast. Doctor said, man, you ain't gonna last. But a stranger's kindness, a gift so true, turned the night sky into something new. He got a second chance, he got a brand new spark. Like a freight train rolling back from the dark. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. 15 years later, the road got rough. The fight ain't over when the climb is tough. needed a kidney, the race was on. Another hero stepped up, kept him strong. Every breath he takes is a tale of hope. One life saved, another can cope. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. Doctor's hands, a donor's grace, running on down to a brand new place. Second chances don't come twice, but when they do, man, they feel so nice. So let's spread the word, let the people know. One yesterday lets a miracle grow. You don't need wings just to save a man, just a little love, a helping hand. Gift of life, let the story be told. One heart beats, another takes hold. Give a little, save a soul. Ain't no greater rock and roll. BJ still rockin', still standing tall, thanks to the ones who gave it all. Gift of life, hear the sound. Pass it on, pass it down. The Gift of Life podcast, hosted by BJ Odom. Listen now.